Welcome to Checks and Balances. I'm Michael Vincent. This is my lovely co-host, James Blair. And this week, we are doing a case study on an absolute banger of a podcast, Rich versus Wealthy Households. What does it look like when we put some numbers to it?
So a little while back, we did an episode, Rich Households versus Wealthy Households. Now, if you haven't seen that episode, please go back and check it out. We might have a link up here or down in the bio. Ravi will sort something out. But rich versus wealthy, both sound good. Unfortunately, they're both not good. Before we give a case study where we give you some numbers, what does financial freedom look like? What's their mentality? How are they thinking? We're just going to do a quick reminder of what both are. So, Mike, what is a rich household all about?
Why are you looking at me, James?
You might be explaining it for a reason.
Look, so a rich household, and remember, we are not talking about income here. That is a really important point. Some of the key characteristics of a rich household, there is no delayed gratification. They want everything and they want it now. They want cake. They want to eat it too. They want to give their kids some cake. Everybody gets cake.
I like cake.
So they are spending everything they earn and sometimes more than they earn, which is quite common. And all of that spending isn't going back into assets that are going to produce an income later in life. Most of the time it's going on toys, depreciating assets, maybe a batch, which, fine, it's going to be a... I'm
going to Airbnb it.
Yeah. But, it's just another expense that goes to a mortgage, right? And I think that's a really sort of some fundamental things that are a characteristic of a rich household.
Nice. So the wealthy household, they know what the cost of their lifestyle is, and they're allocating as much money to assets which will grow over time and also provide them an income over time. They stay away from lifestyle assets. They're not interested in that new Flash Ute or the Range Rover.
Porsche 911.
Yeah, I mean, she is beautiful. But they are thinking about the future, and they're going, we're investing as much over time to pay us back an income in the future. And then so over time, it'll slowly replace their income. Those assets will start to pay them back. You've got to be patient. It's a slow return, but you'll get there. And then they've got options for them and their family and how they spend their time.
Yeah. And a lot of the time, when we're talking about those assets that are providing them income, they will have diversified into multiple assets that give you multiple income streams. That might be rent, that might be dividends, you might own a business, it might be stocks, sales, and this sort of thing, right? So there's a lot of diversification across those assets.
So that's a quick recap between rich versus wealthy. We're now going to do a case study on what a rich household looks like and then how a wealthy household looks like.
Yes.
So Mike, we're going to start with rich. What is the background of the rich household?
Cool. So we've got a couple. They are 30 years old. They've got a household income of $500,000. Right. So, pretty substantial income there. No one's doubting that. They got 2 kids. One is 2, one is 6 months old, and they are time poor. Very busy with work, very busy with commitments, not a lot of time to think about their future. And I think one of the sort of the key things that often happens when people are time poor is they go, I earn too much money and I'm too poor to think about a budget. I've got this under control.
Their current financial position. So they own a $2.5 million house in Glendowie, Auckland, with a mortgage of $1.5 million. Their Kiwi savers are with their bank because they like to see it online and they moved it when they got their mortgage. They're not sure which fund they're in, and they've got $50,000 in each of their Kiwi saver funds. They've got 2 brand new utes worth $150,000 each and 2 jet skis on the back. They are also, on a side note, horrible at reversing it up to the water on the weekends. Their mortgage repayments are $3,000 per fortnight. They spend the rest of their money. So they make their mortgage repayments on the $500,000. The rest just disappears. They've got a $20,000 credit card limit with $10,000 owing.
Yeah, and you might be looking at those numbers and going, $150K each on utes, interchangeable, Range Rover, Ford Ranger, Porsche, anything. You can put anything in there. It's about the fact that they've gone out and spent the money on this asset, which is just going to depreciate. And also the other thing you might be thinking is, guys, that you're lying. They have a $20K limit on their car and they owe $10,000. Like, no one with a $500,000 income has that. A lot of people with a $500,000 income leave money on their credit card month after month after month.
just on a side note as well, you might go $500,000 income. That's not relatable to me. I earn $80,000. Absolute bollocks. The principles of rich and wealthy households apply regardless of your house and your mortgage and your income levels.
Yeah. So let's look at their goals. So, quite often a lot of social pressure in these sorts of situations. So their friends live in Parnell. They want to move to John Key Parnell, not Bill English Parnell, John Key Parnell.
I mean, you can't be in Bill English Parnell. It's just, the time in Parliament just isn't long enough.
So entry level for John Key Parnell, we're talking $4 million. They want to buy a holiday home on Waiheke Islands. Maybe in 5 years, it's going to set them back $1.5 million. Don't we all want that? And their kids go to private schools. So, we're talking $25K per year, 7 years each. That's 2 kids, so a lot of cost there.
So let's fast forward. So at the moment, they are 30. Let's get to when they're 65. So they've built this lifestyle around them. They've got the really nice house. They've got the bougie friends. They've got the nice cars. They've got the jet skis, beautiful on a summer's day. They've got the batch. It's all going well. However, they're sprinting. They're like, geez, I'm exhausted, but I got to keep running because I got all of these costs associated, and I've invested completely into lifestyle assets. So doesn't matter if your house goes up in value. Doesn't matter if the batch goes up in value. Doesn't matter since 2020, there's been no luxury cars, so the value of those have gone up. All irrelevant. You've got no income. So they're forced to work until 65. And Mike, they're stressed. They're like, I am tired. They've got still got debt on their lifestyle assets, so they haven't paid off their mortgage. They've still got $1 million of debt going into retirement, and they don't want to downsize because they're worried about what their mates will think. Oh no, you seen James over there? He's really struggling. He's got to sell his house. I'm not going to do that. That's too embarrassing for me.
And again, you might be listening to this and going, "That sounds like bollocks. No one thinks that." There's a reason we're bringing this up, as we run into this fairly regularly with these sorts of cases.
Keeping up with the Joneses, the Instagram lifestyle.
Yeah, and okay, so they did have one asset there, though. So they did have their KiwiSaver. What is that looking like?
So 1.7 million combined between the two of them. That is purely because of their income. So 3% on $500,000 is still a lot of money. The problem is with their lifestyle, they spend all of the money before 80. And on a side note, if they had made an active choice of KiwiSavers and an active choice of funds based off their lifestyle, we projected they would have had $2.9 million in their KiwiSaver, which would have been an extra $1.2 million. They also can't help their kids into their first home, which the kids can't understand because they're spoilt brats and have never been taught about money. So their relationship with the kids is not good either.
On a personal note. Look, so again, we're highlighting maybe in a not an edge case, but not a really common case. But all of this stuff is typical. Whether or not we see all of it, or some of it, or most of it with clients, it is a typical thing that we do see with these sorts of households.
Yeah, it's head in the sand, enjoying the moment, doing whatever the hell you want, not thinking about the bigger picture. Whether you earn $500,000, $2 million, $200,000, we could name people with that kind of mentality around money. So
shout out to all my real estate agents.
So you don't want to be the rich household, right? Great lifestyle, not sustainable. Yeah. Let's talk about, we love a wealthy household. Mike, tell us about the background of the wealthy household.
Cool. So same age, 30-year-old couple. Household income, we're going to decrease by 200K. So we're going to put that at 300,000. So still a great income. 2 kids, 2 years old, 6 months. Same deal though. Very busy at work, very busy with family. Not a lot of time to budget, not a lot of time to think about their finances in the future because it's difficult. The conversations are hard, especially when everyone's stressed, busy looking after kids. So they don't have a budget in place.
That's not true. So we're talking about the wealthy household. So they do have a budget in place. They know where their money is going, and they've actually got a financial advisor that they're working with. So the financial advisor is going, hey, we've got to put together a plan, put together a budget, know where our money is going. The financial position of this couple, though. So they own a home in Glen Innes, Auckland for $1.5 million, and they're quite happy where they are. They've got a mortgage of $1 million. Their household expenses, because they know their budget, excluding the mortgage, is $70,000 a year. They've got KiwiSavers in the Milford Aggressive Fund, which $50,000 in each of them. They've got 2 cars valued at $50,000 each, and no other debt, no credit cards, nothing like that.
Yeah. So both of these people, or the couple, like their jobs, but they want some financial freedom. They want to have the option of whether or not they have to work in the future. They don't want to have to work. Their other goal, they want to help their kids into their first home. Super common.
So let's go through a little bit of a timeline. So they've got a budget, they've got a plan, they've made active choices as a KiwiSaver. The first thing they're doing is they've spoken to old mate Mike over here and gone, Mike, I got a little bit of equity in my home. Mike says, well, you can use that equity, buy an $800,000 investment property with a 4% yield. And that's a long-term buy and hold. We're buying that house, Mike, and we're going to keep it for a really long period of time.
Yep. And then when they focus on, with the different types of debts, you've got your investment property debt, and we're always saying, pay off that owner-occupied mortgage first. So these guys can actually pay off their mortgage by age 43, so that's 13 years.
Nice. And then once they are mortgage-free, they start contributing to managed funds. So they're getting a little bit of diversification. They got their KiwiSaver moving in the background. They've had their investment property for 13 years. It's doubled in value. And now they're starting to contribute to a managed fund because they want to diversify, but they also want some liquidity and some access to capital. So they keep their budget at the same level, and their mortgage repayments are essentially going to a managed fund. At 50, they've got $800,000 in that managed fund, so good contributions. That's only over a 7-year period. They've sold the investment property at 55. Because the thing about investment property for most Kiwis, they go, I've made all my money in investment property. I've got to stay in investment property come retirement, but you are asset rich and cash poor. So they're not getting the income they want. So they are selling it and putting it into a managed fund. That's given them a $1.2 million cash injection, which is a 5% capital gain per year. They have retired at, despite retiring at 55, their KiwiSavers are still worth $1.8 million by the time they're 65. So they're more than the couple earning more money, $200,000 more who work longer. So that's pretty crazy. And by age 100, they've still got $1.65 million in capital. So they're never spending all the money. They give each of their kids $100,000 towards their first home. And the other thing is if they wanted to increase their expenses even further, they could have spent $100,000 per annum from 50 for the rest of their life. So it's the whole delay gratification, income swinging around later on in life, buy all the fun toys.
Yeah. And again, there's the numbers to sort of illustrate the difference there. One of the really common goals that we hear for wealthy households, rich households, any households is, I want to retire early. And people don't often think about what that actually means for them. If this couple work part-time, so 2.5 days per week, that's 150K household income from 43 until 65. So I'll call it a retirement light. It keeps the brain ticking over. They would have 2.18 million of assets at 65.
Yep.
That is a crazy stat. You think I want to sit back, do nothing, and just shoot the breeze, retire. That doesn't really work out. A lot of people think I want to keep doing stuff. I want to keep it ticking over, and that having the option to not have to work a full week, work a half week, do a different job, reduce the income, is a really powerful thing.
It could look different in lots of ways. Like you could be contracting, you could be doing some advisory, sort of different bits and pieces. It's just, the term retirement, I think, is a little bit out of date. It's kind of like, how will you spend your time? You might travel, might spend time with kids, but then want to do some work. So they are the case studies of the rich versus wealthy household. Remember as well, the wealthy household had $200,000 less of income and was still able to achieve all of those sort of goals. So what are our learnings? Having nice things straight away feels great. We like nice things, don't we, Mike?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So it feels great straight away, but if you have no delayed gratification, if you're not putting any money away for the future, you will never get the chance to stop working.
Yeah.
So the other kind of one is setting clear goals. So not putting your head in the sand, thinking, this is what I want to work towards, opposed to the thing I want right now. This is what I want for my family and my life long term.
Yeah, it's a tug of war, right? It's about present you versus future you. And we use the expression that someone's going to end up with mud on their face, and you don't want it to be future.
Yeah, it's about finding balance in life. If you have more ambitious goals, so say some people like want to be able to be financially free really early, it just means you will need to sacrifice more in the shorter term. There's no free lunches. It means you need to give up more in the short term, or you need to earn more income. Something's got to give. And the final piece, which I'll leave you on, which Mike just touched on, if you don't sacrifice now, you'll have to sacrifice in the future.
Yeah, small consistent steps over time build wealth. The earlier you start, the smaller the steps.
So we'll wrap it up right there. Make sure you are taking steps to be the wealthy household. Thank you for joining us. Please subscribe, give us a review. We'll catch you next week.
Cheers.